Alright, welcome to episode 52 of What If Civilization Starts Over. In the last episode then, we had a war occurred down here in Italy, I believe. We had a lot of wars to do with the southern Indian area, with the Tanzanian country now being gone. There was a war up north near Sweden, as we saw the Ingrian country disappear. Also some tensions around this area, as alliances such as the parallelogram and triangle alliances grew. Ireland and France were added to the various alliances. As well, you can see up here, that's because I'm working on a new layer. It's called the ethnicity layer. I've only got as far as Britain. I'll take the alliances off for a second, but yeah, hopefully I might be able to develop this a bit more. I don't know, it's kind of just like a bit of fun to do. Everything's destroyed, don't worry, we're back. So yeah, we're going to continue on in that sort of vein, and let's start off by going to Sweden. Somewhere we like to go every single episode, just because Sweden is mean like that. And today, they're going to be no different, declaring war on the nation of Estonia. So, Swedish troops move in here in the north, taking over a major city very quickly. They move in towards this lake and separate off the people here, who are pretty quickly defeated. They capture this city, and in this area, there's just a whole load of nothingness. So what the Swedish are going to do is make a landing here in the north, capturing the Estonian capital city. They're going to close around these islands and move their naval vessels into the Gulf of Riga. From here, they're going to move down south towards this city, and just as they reach the outskirts, the nation will surrender over to Swedish forces. I'm just checking that, still there. Cool. So yeah, Sweden is able to fully annex the nation of Estonia, and now the Swedish Empire looks something like this. They have become an absolute Baltic powerhouse. And yeah, they certainly could be moving up in the power rankings very soon. As you can see, power rankings, number 1 is of course Southern India, number 2 is Spain, number 3 Turkey, number 4 the Polish. Pretty impressive, they're still up there. Well, their economy is still not doing great because they've lost, all of Germany, and more bits of, I don't know what this area is called. Korea is in 5th, Orange China is in 6th. Although the two countries are now very close on power. The Swedish are in 7th, England in 8th, Ireland in 9th, and in 10th we've got Ukraine. Pretty cool. Well done, Ukraine. Anyway, let's go into another event, and let's go down here to the Mediterranean. Something that I think is rather cool, because this pink country, like episode 23 or something. I think it's episode 18. Someone asked me to bring them back, and sorry I forgot your name. And I did. And then episode 3, the Carthaginians, they lost that war, and I brought back the Sardinian country. So they're back now, but unfortunately today they're about to get absolutely destroyed, because as you can see, the southern French, the Spanish, and the Italians all have a pretty good just general list around them. And they've all got a pretty good vantage point for attacking them. So what happens here is the Spanish make a naval landing here in the Balearic Islands, then move on towards Spain or Sardinia, landing in the south and moving up towards the capital. In the north, we can see the southern French are starting to invade into Corsica, taking the capital of this island. So they do that pretty efficiently. Whilst over here in the east, the Italians are going to start their invasion into Sicily, landing over here in the eastern part of the island. They take over Malta as well, and then push over west. That's pretty mountainous, but oh well. Taking the westernmost city of the Sicilian island, a bit near Palermo maybe. After that, Spain just takes over the capital city of the entire country, and in a peace treaty, we see Spain annex the captured islands. We see the southern French just take over Corsica, and the Italians will be taking over, if you're going to guess, it's Sicily and Malta. So there you go. Following this war, we now have all three of these powers meeting up in the central western Mediterranean. Yeah, if you're the northern Italian country, I would be very afraid. They're in a really bad spot, and it possibly won't be that long until they're potentially annexed into this Italian country. It's not a good spot that they're in, but Croatia's there, so that's nice. Anyway, let's head on eastwards, I think, because I want to do some expansion first before I get into other events. Australia's been here for a while, and they haven't done anything. So the southern Indians are going to finally move into the Australian continent. They haven't really expanded here at all. They've just taken over the Bengali colony that was here already. So now they're going to be finally expanding into this huge unexplored landmass that they just ended up owning now. I'm not sure they really wanted to own it. Okay, thanks for that. So they will take over this huge load of stuff. I mean, northern Australia, I'm not sure it's the best bit of Australia, really. I think there's quite a lot of desert here. But they don't care. They'll take it anyway. They have a huge empire, and they like land, so they're fine with owning this stuff. And yeah, I'm gonna give them a border looks something like this. The province is definitely gonna be a lot more straight lined than these borders. If we look at provinces, we can see that I made a few, no straight lines yet, but that's a huge yet, because this is a load of desert. And you know how colonial powers like to divide up desert? It's with a straight line. Anyway, the Chinese are also over here, so they're going to expand their little peninsular colony a bit further south. Not that much. Still exploring Australia. Probably those people dying of different animals they'd never encountered before. So yeah, pretty chill. They also take over some of these islands over here, and that's cool. The Chinese are going to start to explore the Pacific Ocean a lot more. And yeah, we can actually go over here to China because we need to look at ideology. You see this? You see this country right here? This island country? Well, they just had a civil war. That's bad. You don't want to have a civil war. And what happens is an absolute monarchy takes control. And you know, the Northern Italians know what? The Orange Chinese don't really care. Two of their allies are, of course, absolute monarchies. They don't mind. They don't mind an absolute monarchy. But this country is really bad. They are like full on, really horrible absolute monarchy. And the country, which is Orange China, has a huge issue with this because they start just really badly treating other people. Some Orange Chinese people who have ended up in this country because they've, I don't know, moved there for some reason. Why wouldn't you just live here? There's so many more cities in this place. It's a lot better of a country to live in. Like, look at that. Look at that. Loads of cities. Than this random lilac place. But unfortunately, yeah, this country's not a good place to live. And the Orange Chinese decide that as the defenders of China, which is what they are proclaiming that they are, they need to defend China and take out this country. So they call in their alliance and they're going to invade into the lilac country. So they move in, taking a major city very quickly and pushing in across the coastal areas. They did brief their purpley blue coloured allies, and you know they knew what to do, so they had their troops ready. So they invaded in towards this city. There was a huge gathering of troops here because both these countries are kind of stupid, and yeah, these guys definitely knew that they were going to be there. So there are a few troops from this country that are prepared to invade, and they move in the southern areas towards one of the major cities down here. They do pretty well because the purple country is fairly bad at being a country, but you know they try. They're also going to move out in this general front line, but also stick to where the Chinese are, because you know they're going to be doing a lot better in their fighting. Pretty soon, the Chinese will take the capital city, and at this point, they just split out into all these different agricultural regions. We see the small offensive over here, completely back, and blue team troops, like the full load. There's just expeditionary forces at the start will arrive in the country, and we see the full-on capitulation of this nation. So. Okay, thanks for that. We can now look at a peace treaty, which is going to be kind of not very complex because there's only two countries who can even get anything from this. So provinces in this region, there's a lot of them apparently. I did not think there were that many. Anyway, Orange China is going to get something like this. They're going to get a lot more land. No, they're not. You stupid man. What? They get a lot less land than the lilac-y country because I like my borders to look good. So I'm going to give them something like that, and hopefully that looks alright. I don't know, we'll see. There's a horrible exclave thing, and yeah, just generally doesn't look great. Well, no, it looks okay. We'll see in a second. I'm going to remove the exclave first, the turf cities, and see if it looks any better without all the dots. Yeah, we'll live with it. Anyway, something important will come of this event. Because following this, the Chinese announce that there is no more threats in China. China is completely safe from danger, and although, you know, there's a couple absolute monarchies all throughout this general western region, they decide there's no more threats. You know, Guangxi is really like probably a 12th or something in the world. They are one of the strongest countries at this point. Very scary, but you know, they're a fairly nice country. You know, the Koreans are out there, they're kind of scary. This country is not that scary. Bengal might be revanchist. This country could be revanchist. Like this entire huge empire is down here, but like no, it's all safe. It's filled up. It's chill. It's fine. And yeah, what they're gonna be doing is not that stupid. Is getting rid of their alliance. So that is gone. There's no more circle alliance here defending China, and yeah, that's kind of cool though. They could definitely make a new alliance of like actual monarchies, but it probably has to just be these three. You could get some Japanese allies, as they're definitely trading a lot more with Japan. But there you go. Here's our China update. This alliance is still intact, of course. We can take that off now because we do need to go over here to the Indian country because they are invading another nation. There's a few they can invade, and by that I mean they can invade anyone. Their navy's like the best in the world. Look at how many islands they own. Islands mean navy. But yeah, they're going to, of course, invading the nation of Sri Lanka, a country who hasn't done a whole lot and has definitely been a lot less important since they collapsed in like episode 35 and lost to the Southern Indians. But today, the Southern Indians return, taking the capital city in an easy invasion. They push through the northern kind of Tamil areas, but there's no Tamils in this world, pushing along the eastern coast and taking over all of the cities. The Sri Lankans don't like fight too well, but some people are out there fighting. That's like a huge difference. Some people are like, wow, we really need to defend our country, but most people are just like, yeah, well, I don't really mind these guys too much. Let's submit. And in the end, what we see happening is this country will join the nation of Southern India, well, not voluntarily, of course. And there you go. Their empires become even more powerful across the Indian Ocean. This country is terrifying. Anyway, we now need to head over to the Central Asian region of the world, over to this Mintish country. Mint team, what are you going to do? Well, they're of course going to be expanding further into Central Asia, and this is kind of because they heard that everyone's going to be dividing up this region. Well, not all of it, but some of it. And that's true. The rumors are correct. So the greenish country will also move down into this territory. They kind of aim for these lakes, but they don't get them because they're unlucky like that. The green country's not really done a whole lot in their existence, and unfortunately, they're not really doing a whole lot in this era either, because Central Asia has really, apart from the western areas, it hasn't been a hugely important area across this entire series. The Central Asian country was important. They're not anymore though. And even the split off countries aren't really that important anymore either. Anyway, the periwinkle Tibetan country will take over all of these territories, and they are now a massive country. We can also go around here to the yellow country. They're going to be expanding a little bit. They're kind of just another boring sort of nation that exists in this map, and I'm like, they're fine. I don't mind. Yeah, anyway, cool new Central Asian stuff. It's just this small region over here that still hasn't been colonized. Speaking of colonizing or just expanding into territory, I know, I should probably do some more wars. Don't worry, I'll get there. We need to go over here to the red country. Okay, not that close in. The red country, and let's try and give them a good border, shall we? Because the red team's going to expanding a little bit more, kind of towards the Ural Mountains. Maybe, I'm not quite sure where they are. I think they're kind of just south of this line. What they're going to be doing is going towards this strange looking peninsula over here, taking over all of this relatively cold region. However, don't worry, a load of immigrants going to this country, so they do manage to populate this pretty big region. I did draw some problems for them, some good old straight lines as well. There's lots of straight lines in actual Russia, so I decided this made sense. They will also manage to finally take over these islands over here. This one is Novaya Zemlya. I forgot the name of this one. Silly name though. Well, not silly. Pretty cool. The greenish country down here in southern Russia, North Kazakhstan. I don't know. They're going to move out towards some of these lakes and they take over these areas. Probably big Ural Mountains here, but that's defensive, so they probably don't mind. Anyway, so they will take over all of this territory. Good for them. They are actually quite a big regional power here, taking up the kind of power vacuum that was left behind when the Central Asians collapsed. They also played a big part in that, so probably kind of why. The greenish country over here will also be expanding north. They like to just copy other countries. This country just isn't very imaginative. Anyway, they now have some really weird borders, but I guess I'll live with it. So your borders are really weird as well. Anyway, I feel like I was going to do something else in Europe, but I might not have been. It was probably a war. Almost definitely going to be a war. I remember now. It wasn't in Europe. Don't worry, guys. It was over here in Persia, because the Pakistani country is once again returning on their conquest sort of ideas, and they're going to go to war again. This time it's going to be a war with the Green Team, who is another country very similar to them. They split off from the Persians a few episodes, like 22 episodes ago, and yeah, they're going to get invaded today. So the Pakistani people will move in across towards this major city over here, defending their own one, whilst a secondary main sort of group moves out towards the capital city here. It's a pretty populated place, actually. I know it doesn't really feel like this. This country is kind of just Afghanistan, really. They kind of look like it, maybe. Not that much, but you get the idea. Also, Afghanistan's kind of over here, but shut up, you. Maybe it's around here. No, that's Pakistan. No, this kind of is Afghanistan. Cool. Anyway, spearhead between these two countries will link up around this lakey area. Is this where Kabul is? I don't know. Whilst this city over here, everyone just flees and they submit because there's no point fighting this country, which is far stronger than you are. And yeah, they give up. So we see in the peace treaty that Pakistan will fully annex what is kind of Afghanistan, making themselves into an absolutely massive country, kind of just like an East Persia, and that's probably what they're going for. This is scary. They are very strong. Well, they're becoming pretty strong. Yep, the episode's 15 minutes long. Do I want to end it here? I certainly could. Let's go here to the German colony. The Germans have been kind of important in colonial matters in recent episodes, and today they're also going to be important as they expand their colony pretty rapidly, whilst other countries are kind of just assimilating their stuff. Lots of people from Northern Europe are actually moving to the German colony because it's offering people a lot more rights and stuff like that. Because the Germans like, I want to be up there with all these other powers, so I'm going to try and be nice. That's good. The English will also be expanding their colony into these general sort of Wisconsin? What? Wisconsin. How is it pronounced? How is it spelled? I don't know about what? Is there any American people watching this? How do you pronounce it? Wisconsin? Am I stupid? Anyway, the Swedes will also be expanding into these dumb islands over here, so that's fun. And yeah, we just have this general small area over here. Bet you can't guess who it's going to go to. I can't either. The Dutch will be expanding their colony a little bit. The Dutch already have a pretty huge Mexican colony. The problem with being aligned against the Irish and the Spanish is that to get to Mexico, you have to go through the Caribbean, which is owned by both of those countries. So this has kind of helped their really poor relations between both of those power blocks. The Dutch will colonize the entirety of the Baja California Peninsula and moving into Southern California, I believe. Like a little bit. They also take over some more islands and some of these stuff right here. Huge Dutch Empire. The Spanish aren't colonizing a whole lot around there. The Southern Indians will move out and take the islands of Reunion and Mauritius, and will also advance their Madagascan colony down to this sort of third of the north. Well, a third of the way down the country, I think. And they also take over another silly little island around there. So that's fun. And yeah, that's probably where I'll leave today's episode. Lots of small wars, some kind of important events. Lots of events that will become important into the future, but not in this episode yet. So there you go. That's where I'll probably leave today's episode. A bit of a short one, kind of. And yeah, thanks for watching, and I will see you again next time when this appears again. Goodbye. Have a nice rest of your day.